very much. Thank you very much indeed. And this afternoon we're going to be looking at negotiation skills. Negotiation is one of your most important skills. I'm sure you've heard that before. Negotiation is one of your most important skills in business. And really, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're, or the skills we talk about today apply to you whether you're a salesperson or whether you're a buyer. They apply to you whether you're a manager negotiating with the unions or whether you're a union member negotiating with the managers. It applies to you whether you're simply a member of staff trying to negotiate a better salary increase for yourself, or even when you're negotiating with your children, trying to encourage them to have a tidy room. Negotiation, the skills are exactly the same. And today I'm going to ask and answer 5 questions. 5 questions that will help you in your negotiations. 5 simple questions, but the results of these questions, or the information that are extracted from these questions, are vitally important to negotiation. 5 questions, and the questions are these. Firstly, who wins in a negotiation? Second question, where does the power come from in any negotiation? Third question, is there an alternative to positional bargaining? Now, positional bargaining is the traditional way we negotiate. Both sides take a position, and then hopefully one comes to a solution sometime towards the end of the negotiation. But I'm going to put forward perhaps some alternatives to that. Fourth question, how do I get my negotiating opponent to listen to my point of view? How do you get people to listen to you? Fifth question, how do I ensure that both sides in the negotiation end up with more than they bargained for? How do you get more out of a negotiation? 5 simple questions. But before I get into that, I'm going to tell you a little story. And this is about a friend of mine. Some years ago, he and I were just chatting, and he wanted to take his wife out for a very important dinner. It was their anniversary, an important anniversary. Where should he go, he said, for dinner? So we talked about this for a while, and I said, you know, the best food in town is at the Royal Grill. Royal Hotel, the grill room there, it's really very nice. And he said, yeah, I know, the food there is absolutely right, but how am I going to be certain that the service is as good as it should be? Because, you know, if the service is poor, it's really going to spoil the meal. Good question, I said. And we thought about this for a while, and he came up with a solution. He said, look, he said, the meal I'm going to have, there'll be 2 of us. We only ever have a starter and a main course, bottle of wine maybe. The meal will probably come to about 300 Rand. And I would normally tip 10%, so that's what, 30 Rand. So what I'll do at the beginning of the meal, he said, I'll call the waiter over and show him a 50 Rand note and tear the 50 Rand note in half, give him half of the 50 Rand note at the beginning of the meal, and tell him that if the service is very good, he gets the other half of the 50 Rand note at the end of the meal. Good idea, I said. So off he went. And he went to the restaurant, and he did this with the waiter, showed him half the 50 Rand note and gave it to him. And then he got the food, and I must tell you, he tells me the food, fabulous, he said. It always is, the Royal Grill, the food is always very good. And when he got his bill, then the bill turned out to be about 295, pretty much what he expected. But you know, the service wasn't quite as good. It wasn't special. It was okay. They got the food on time and stuff, but it wasn't special service. So he paid the bill, and then called the waiter over and said to the waiter, look, the service wasn't quite as good as I was hoping for. So I tell you what, you give me your half of the 50 Rand note back, and I'll give you the 30 Rand that I would have given you as 10% of the bill. And the waiter said, absolutely not. The service was very good. You give me the 50 Rand you promised me. But my friend said, definitely not. In fact, if you're going to argue with me, you're going to be lucky to get anything at all. And then the waiter said, and this went on backwards and forwards, you see. Now, my friend's wife said to my friend, hey, this is embarrassing now, she said. You're meant to be a good negotiator, she said. Negotiate your way out of this deal, and let's get going because I'm embarrassed, she said. Now, that is the negotiation situation I'd like you to consider for the moment. Okay. Imagine that you are either the waiter or my friend. What would you do to negotiate your way out of this deal? I tell you what, let's make it easy. Everybody over this side of the room, you are all my friend, okay? I know it's a bit of a reach, okay, but work with me here, all right? You're all my friend. Everybody over this side of the room, you are all the waiter, okay? Now, my friend, what would you say to the waiter? And the waiter, what would you say to my friend in order to get a negotiated deal solution here? Anybody? Yes, sir.
If I may comment, first of all, I wouldn't have given him half a note. I would give him 25 rand.
Okay.
And then negotiate from there.
Okay.
That's the.
All right. Now, that's possibly true, but we're in the negotiation now. So let's presume that we're here now. How do we negotiate our way out of this? Yes, sir.
I've provided a service,
right,
and I have half of the money, and the other half is worthless to you.
Okay. So my friend, he said, look, he's provided the service, and it's worthless to you anyway. What do you say?
Both halves are worthless.
Okay.
I've lost 50 rand.
Okay.
So
So how are you going to solve this?
well, my wife's getting highly embarrassed now, so here's the other half of the note.
Okay, so you're going to give the other half of the note and you're going to get that. Probably, yes. But how do you feel now? How do you feel?
Well, cheated.
You feel cheated. Will you go back to the restaurant? Probably not. Absolutely right. So we've got a perfect, the waiter wins, my friend loses, the restaurant loses. No, it's not a good solution, is it? What other solutions, sir, gentlemen?
You could negotiate to buy back the other half of the 50 rand note for a reduced price.
Okay, we're going to buy back the 50 rand note. That's quite interesting. Buy back the other half of the 50 rand. Are you going to make an offer?
Yeah, 20 rand.
You're going to buy the 50 rand note back for 20 rand. How do we feel about that? Not good enough, he says, because you were already offered 30.
Split the difference, then you settle at, say, 25 or 30.
Okay.
Otherwise, both people lose.
All right. We had already offered him 30. So you're wanting to split the difference, maybe go to 40. Go to 40. The problem with a split the difference solution, and you know we often end up with this in negotiation, don't we? Often end up. The problem with a split the difference solution is, now the waiter here, you're ending up with 40 instead of 50. How do you feel? How do you feel? Cheated. Okay, you don't think you've got a good deal. Now, my friend here, you've ended up paying 40 instead of the 30 you wanted to pay. How do you feel? Probably pretty much the same, cheated. So in fact, and it's often the case with a split the difference solution, both sides often feel as though they've been cheated. Both sides often feel as though they could have done a little bit better out of that deal. It's a perfect lose-lose, in fact. But with a split the difference solution, it's often just a perfect lose-lose. So what else could we do here?
Pay with your credit card, add a 10% tip, and nail the guy.
Pay with a credit card, add 10% and nail the guy. Okay, but how does the waiter feel about being nailed here? Not keen, eh? No. You see, the problem is now that both sides, and all the solutions we've come up with thus far, have been a typical negotiated solutions. We see the negotiation always from the perspective of us winning. What we tend not to do is see a negotiation from the perspective of our negotiating opponent winning. Look, there are some good solutions here. I'm going to talk about them a bit later on. Okay, so what we're going to do is look at all those questions I've raised, and hopefully by the end you will have come up with some better solutions to this waiter and my friend problem. But let's have a look at those questions. Firstly, who wins in a negotiation? Who wins in a negotiation? Now you know the answer.